Hi, I'm Russ Reed, and I'm with InnovATEBIO. I'm a co-PI, and I'm joined today with Dr. Mary Russell. And Mary actually is a training specialist at Cook Endoscopy, located here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I'm also joined with Tom Tubon, Dr. Tom Tubon from Madison Community College. And Tom is a co-PI and shares a specific goal with me with respect to InnovATEBIO. And at the technical helm is Sean Killebrew. Sean works at Foresight Tech, and he's our loyal tech person for this particular program. So we're delighted, Mary, to see you. Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Good morning, Dr. Russell. It's good to have you on board. And we are very pleased to have you showcase and share some of your insights to our institute and our participants here. We want to start off the interview with one really fundamental question, and giving your expertise and background. The question is really, how do companies in the biomedical device sector hire and retain talent? It's a really, really important question for our participants to kind of sink into. And if you could share your insights, we'd really appreciate it.
Yes, I would love to. First, I'd like to begin with discussing the hiring piece. And with post-COVID, that looks different in the sense that one of the things we have to be aware of is the fact that we have remote workers. And some hiring in some places has to be remote. And it's about making sure that the leaders or the hiring team are skilled in using the technology effectively to making sure that they have the best fit for the job. And best fit is the number one thing you want to accomplish from the hiring process. So it's important that the hiring process is an effective one that is evaluated ongoing. And the reason you want to evaluate it ongoing, you want to make sure that the hiring process is netting what you want. Did you get the best fit? Were there people in the pool that you thought would have been a best fit, but somehow they didn't make it to the end? Is there concern about the process? So ongoing sharing and evaluating the process to ensure that it is a process that is definitely yielding what you want, and one, if it needs to be modified, that we modified. Also, hiring you, most places have a hiring team. So it's ensuring that the hiring team understands the process of hiring, making sure that everyone's on the same page in the sense, what are the skills we're looking for? What are the technical skills we're looking for? What are the behavior skills we're looking for? What knowledge are we looking for? Is there information or skills that we're willing to train? What are the skills that we expect people have on the very first day? And how do we incorporate the hiring process or the interviewing process so that we can best ascertain whether or not those skills, the candidate who has those skills, are the ones that we push forward. Also, with hiring, it's important that we make sure that everyone on our team understands the employment laws and the employment laws as it pertains to protected individuals, and to ensure that we don't say something that could lead our company to a lawsuit. Um, and then also be aware of the fact that we come to the table with individual biases, and we need to leave those biases. We just need to be aware of them and make sure that they do not enter into our hiring process. And understand that we need to hire for the future. We're hiring for the future. Even though we need this person today, we need to think about the future. Technology is changing, it's emerging. It's rapidly. We don't know what it's going to be, but we know there are going to be changes. So within your company, within the company and what you're marketing, what are those technologies? How are we ensuring that the people we have and our leaders are aware and keeping abreast of the new technologies and the new skills and knowledge that's going to be needed. In the future, we know that there's going to be technology. We just don't know what it's going to do. We do know that there's certain things that technology can't do that we're going to need humans to do. Um, what jobs are we knowing enough about what the job is going to entail Be clear about what is this person going to be doing, every single aspect of it, so that you can develop a job description that will best get you that person. And recognizing that some of the things are things that, like problem solving skills, are things that you may need that person to be able to do. And how do you go about, what's the best way of going about to identify whether or not that person can actually problem solve, for example, or communicate well. It's understanding what that job description needs to be and making sure that everyone on your team understands it, and have a process where that you have more than one person interviewing for the same topic. For example, if we have a team of people and my expertise is communication, then is there another person on my team who will interview that person to see if those skills, that person is the best person to move forward with those skills. And then at the end of that time with that person, we actually trade notes and discuss. Well, why did you say this? Why would you put this? Here's what I said. And again, have conversation throughout the hiring process and make sure that conversation is clear of any personal biases we have. And the skills of the future, we often say, well, how do we know what they are? Well, there are a couple of institutes that I'm aware of where that's what they do. They actually collect data. And one is the World Economic Forum, and the other one is McKinsey Global Institute. The World Economic Forum, once a year in January, they publish a report. And with that report, it identifies and it has topics sometimes that deals with what the future will look like. So I would recommend that we all take time to look at those things and try to help us understand what it is we need and how this piece of information can help us get there.
Dr. Russell, it's an incredibly important decision for any company to onboard an employee. It's an investment for the long term. And there are two parts to that, actually. The first is onboarding the right person. And then once that person's brought on, can you give us a little bit of insight into part of the drive or part of the process to ensure that that talent is retained within the company?
Yes. One thing we need to understand is that with the workforce of today, research shows that very few people are going to stay 30 years. Very few people going, may have nothing to do with the company. It's just that people, they have options and they exercise those options. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that whatever onboarding we do, we make sure that it's an opportunity for us to develop them so that if they do want to leave, they can, but we treat them so they won't. And that's very important. So I say that to say that it's important that after we get them with the onboarding, we want to retain them. Leadership, the type leadership that we have in place is so important. Again, there are some studies that say that one of the number one reasons people leave or want to transfer from another department is their leader. So how do we ensure that we have the leadership that are equipped, the leadership that's equipped to provide the needs of those employees? And some of those needs are recognition. You know, people want to be recognized, and oftentimes that recognition, we treat one size fit all. In actuality, an increase in my pay may be something that motivates me, but it may not motivate you. So it's about understanding and collecting data from the employees. What motivates you? What do you need that you aren't getting? Constantly, once a year, twice, or you're just constantly trying to find that out. Also looking at exit interviews when people leave. Is there a trend? Do you see a trend in that? If that's a trend, is this something we need to work on? And the motivation, opportunity for advancement, career opportunities, we find that a lot of people say, well, there's no advancement here. And understanding advancement for some people isn't necessarily advancement into leadership, but people want to know, a lot of people who are, if these employees we want to keep, they want to know, where can I go from here? Am I going to be in this same position for the next 5, 10 years? And the motivations that we have in place are these the motivations that will motivate people to stay. So it's about collecting data from them. It's about providing an environment for them that they feel safe. And I know safe physically and safe emotionally, safe to uh, bring forth new ideas, safe to say, no, that's not working. Here's why. It's about just that whole environment and understanding that people are different and welcome diverse voices and encourage diverse voices, encourage people to speak up, encourage people to become a part of the company, and also have core values that you live. Core values that you live, and understand that if I am a new hire, then if I buy into your core values, then the chance of me staying is going to be great. But if you have some values that either I don't agree with or they don't align with mine, or that I see that you are not enforcing, then chance that I'm staying is going to be less. You know.
Well, thank you for demystifying the information about hiring and retention for the biomedical device sector. We really do appreciate it. I'm going to volley on over to Russ to pick up the next question here.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Dr. Russell,
Mhm.
for your insightful ideas and good practices. So this question really fits nicely to what you've just discussed and maybe gives you an opportunity to give a little bit more detail. So how does a biomedical device company form a culture of productivity and safety? And, if you want to split those two questions apart, that's fine. That would be great. And I think um, just from a personal perspective, um, I think that they're kind of go hand in hand, this kind of question, because you want to be productive, but at the same time you want to make sure that whatever you're producing is safe, but at the same time the people that are working on the project need to be safe as well. So um, please share your thoughts on that.
Uh, yes, I'd love to. Hiring and productivity, they go hand in hand. One of the first thing is make sure you hire the best fit for the job. The best fit for the job. If we do not hire the best fit for the job, then we spend a lot of time training people. And so that's going to limit the level of productivity that you have. So that would be my first thing. Make sure you hire the best fit for the job. And then the next is make sure that you have some system in place to monitor efficiency. Make sure that they understand what efficiency looks like, they understand the job, and have a system to monitor that. And some type system, maybe some people use some type efficiency system that looks at time studies and something of that sort, or some process that you're going to not only monitor efficiency, but have conversations about efficiency. It's about developing that culture where people feel safe to provide feedback and get feedback on the work. So that one, and then post COVID again, that brings a whole new conversation about productivity. With COVID, if you're hiring someone, if someone is there and they are working remotely, then how do we prepare our leaders and how do we prepare those people to understand this is how I'm going to assess the productivity? It's about being transparent. It's about being transparent and being clear and understanding here's what productivity looks like and having the capacity to provide and give feedback for growth and help people understand this is so we can grow. And periodically, not feedback once a year, ongoing feedback. That's what I would say with the productivity. First, have a process to assess what efficiency looks like and share that. And then have a process to measure efficiency and have conversations, ongoing conversations, so that people will understand here's what I'm doing well, here's what I need to work on, and here's what we need to do to close those gaps. And then with safety, with both procedures and with the productivity and with safety, it's about having process and procedures in place. With the medical device company, there are processes, we're regulated. So if you're a company that regulated, you have external processes and procedures, and you have internal processes and procedures. It's ensuring that people understand what those processes and procedures are and making sure that they actually adhere to those. Everything that in the culture, everyone, if, for example, if quality is one of them, then that's what we practice every day. Recognizing that quality in HR may look different from quality in manufacturing, and making sure that productivity in HR will look different. So it's being clear and transparent about those things. And with safety, the same thing. We need to make sure that we understand OSHA, and we need to make sure that we understand any other state laws or the company policies and procedures that pertains to safety. Each department, the safety might look different. Um, so it's about making people aware of what that is and making sure that every employee recognize and accept the fact that we all are responsible for safety. Have a team in place, a safety team in place. So it's a one person who's definitely the leader of that team, who ensures that everyone's following the safety procedures that are outlined. Have an environment or a culture where people feel safe to report any violation of the safety policy. If I'm working in a manufacturing department that requires that I can't have my toes out, and if I see someone coming in that department with shoes with toes out, empower people to say, you can't come in here like that. So it's about empowering the people and making the people understand that safety is all our responsibilities. And it's up to all of us to make sure it's safe. And as I was speaking on when we were talking on the hiring and retention, making it safe for people to speak up, even speak up to power. If I see a leader who's not following it, then I need to make sure that I feel safe enough to say, hey, you can't wear those shoes in here, or you need to put on that mask, or you have to do this, and making it safe in those ways. So I look at safety as the physical safety and also the emotional safety. And to me, if we look at safety and we look at productivity and we don't leave that people part out of it, I think that that will lead to higher retention as well.
Thank you for that, Dr. Russell. That's very insightful. And if I could I build on that a little bit
Sure.
and just ask you, because this is a leadership institute, what advice would you have for this group that's coming through that will actually be seeing you in this video and then in a year's time be seeing you in person from the perspective of what you just said? You know, you might be leading some folks, some people, but at the same time, you want to make sure that they feel safe, that their you know their ability to produce something as a team together is done in an open and a safe way. What advice would you have for these aspiring leaders from the point of view of what you just discussed?
Develop a mindset of learning in the sense that recognizing that we're different, we approach things different, and that has to be okay. Look for diversity in thought, welcome diversity in thought, encourage diversity in thought. Be transparent as much as you can. And transparency, the definition I like to use for transparency is the right information, the right time, the right people. And when you let people understand that, okay, this is information, this is what I can share with you now. And once people understand that about you, you help them develop trust. And it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to show your human side. But create a safe environment for people, create an environment where people feel like they can speak to you, they can talk to you, they can trust you. Develop a learning environment because, as we said, what we do know is the workforce is going to change. We just don't know how it's going to change. So how can we create an environment of learning where people we become enablers of learners. We actually encourage people to read trade magazines or read reports or have discussions or conversations about, okay, for every job that we might lose, many more are going to be created. We need to be ready for that. So how do we encourage even our leaders? Another thing I would say to leaders, when is the last time? Make sure you're current on what's happening and what's coming down the pike. Make sure that you are aware of what's happening so you can best understand how to prepare or guide your people in the learning and training. Because when we hire from within as well. So do we help people that are waiting that we've prepared and we've trained so they can move whatever position that is? How are we going about upskilling and reskilling people? How are we preparing them for that mindset? How are we getting rid of the status quo mindset? If we have those mindsets, then how do we begin now to change that mindset and ask ourselves, what is it about this leadership role that's going to require me to think differently? And recognizing that leadership is situational. It's going to depend on the situation, it's going to depend on the people. And most people just want to be seen and heard and validated. So as a leader, how do you do that? How do you be that leader that people don't want to leave your department? that people will, even when you're gone, whatever you've taught them or whatever you left them with, it continues on. That culture of growth continues on. That culture of safety continues on because of the impact that you had in leading the people. I really believe we need to be more intentional about accepting a leadership position, and we need to be more intentional about outlining for those future leaders or people who want to be leadership what it actually is going to entail. Leader is different from managing in the sense that leader is focusing on developing other people and recognizing people as a resource, not one of the most valuable resource. Technology is going to change, but the needs that people have been the same for hundreds of years. And so how do we ensure as a leader that we're going to recognize that and actually prepare to foster both things, the growth as it pertains to technology and the growth as it pertains to our people.
Dr. Russell, I want to thank you. I actually have taken a lot of notes here myself personally and find it very inspirational. So thank you for that. And thank you for visiting with us today and being one of our subject matter experts in this institute that we have for InnovATEBIO. So the other thing I would like to just mention too for the fellows that will be, the participants that will be watching this, is your commitment to InnovATEBIO. You're both on the National Visitors Committee, which would be our board, and you're also on our Industry and Workforce Advisory Council. So I want to thank you for that. And I'll just turn it over to Tom for last comments.
Thank
Dr.
you,
Russell, we really do appreciate your involvement and your time that you're contributing to this effort for us in the Institute. Your advice and insights are certain to help us and our emerging leaders from the Institute to continue to produce a knowledgeable and work-ready workforce. So lots of things to think about in terms of developing these strong leaders, and what I had mentioned earlier is about demystifying the entire hiring and retention process and what employees can expect. And it's great to hear this coming from the inside perspective. And I certainly, for one, appreciate it. And on behalf of the InnovATEBIO Center, we thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having me.